Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The Epstein Files, stalled Trumpcare, a looming budget fight after the big ugly bill. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz is here to break it all down. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser announced she's not going to be running for a fourth term. The congressional gerrymandering battle between Republicans and Democrats continues ahead of the 2026 midterm elections, with states awaiting a potential game-changing ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll talk to a reporter who's closely following politics in rural Tennessee, where there's a crucial congressional race that could move Democrats closer to taking control of the House. The barn in Mississippi where 14-year-old Emmett Till was tortured and murdered in 1955 will soon be open to the public as a sacred memorial site. From black wealth to black joy, Shark Tank alum and Chicago business owner of Curl Mix, Kim Lewis, will explain why she's asking the public for help to keep her business in operation. Also, the Washington Post does a story on Democrat or progressive digital media outlets and how they could be a game changer in 2026. How did the Washington Post completely missing all black and Latino people? I got a few things to say. Plus, in our Black Star Network Marketplace segment, we'll feature the perfect toys for kids interested in STEM and the arts. We'll talk to the creator of the Brown Toy Box. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
The longest federal government shutdown in history took place on Donald Trump's watch. Republicans try to blame Democrats, but the polls clearly show the American public is with Democrats, saying it was the fault of the Republicans. Why did Democrats hold out? They said to demand the Affordable Care Act subsidies continue, Well, guess who all of a sudden realizes that's a good idea? Yeah, the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man, felon-in-chief Donald Trump. Go to my iPad, Anthony. Look at this here. White House circulates a plan to expand Obamacare subsidies as Trump played his health care fix. Isn't that interesting? Quote, this is Associated Press lead. The White House is circulating a proposal that would extend subsidies to help consumers pay for coverage on the Affordable Care Act for 2 more years, as millions of Americans face spiking health care costs when the current tax credits are set to expire at the end of the year. Joining us right now is Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Congresswoman, glad to have you back on the show. This is what we call Democrats were right. Capitulation. Democrats made the argument how important these health care subsidies were for health care of Americans. Republicans, they decimated this in that big ugly bill. Y'all held out, forced a hand, and lo and behold, look who all of a sudden wants to extend them now for 2 years.
Roland, we have been pushing the Republicans all year long, including in months of debate on the big ugly law. And remember, the argument that they've been making about the expiration of the tax credit extensions has been that we scheduled them to expire. Well, guess what? In 2017, Donald Trump and the Republicans, they scheduled those tax breaks for billionaires, millionaires, and wealthy corporations to expire in 2025. And it was so damn important to them that they called us back to Washington July 4th and made sure that in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., we were voting to extend permanently those tax breaks. We were pushing as Democrats to get them to extend the ACA tax credit enhancements as well, and of course they said no. And then we were relentless throughout the fall, through the shutdown, because we know that people are going to be forced to go without, and that you're going to have millions of people who will not be able to afford their health care, and here they come to our local emergency rooms. And the Republicans did that. They're blinking, but Donald Trump withdrew that plan today because Mike Johnson, the speaker, who kept us out of session and kept Republicans on a taxpayer-paid vacation for 5 weeks, he said to the White House that they're not interested in extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Well, okay. I guess what they say is FAFO, because I know millions of people. I have 203,000 people in my district who are facing explosive increases, and they're going to pay at the ballot box. They will remember if we don't come together and they don't join us.
Well, here's what's amazing. I'm sitting here looking at this AP story, and it says that eligibility for the Obamacare subsidies, which were put in place during the COVID-19 pandemic, will be capped at 700% of the federal poverty level, according to 2 people with knowledge of the proposal. Well, guess what? The previous cap was 400%. So now they're increasing the cap. The proposal also will require low-income folks to pay some sort of premium. It says one option is a requirement that everyone pay 2% of their income, or at least $5 per month for lower-tier plans. Again, here's what's interesting. There were so many people, individuals, political folks, radio folks. There were other political strategists and others who were saying, Democrats, you're crazy. You're outside of your mind. What are you doing? You're going to lose this battle. You're going to lose this fight. And now all of a sudden, you're good, Congresswoman. You're good.
Okay.
You're good. Now all of a sudden, these folks are now realizing that, yeah, Democrats were right. Health care is an important fundamental issue in American life. And now this is Trump giving in.
100%, Roland. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. I know that firsthand as a breast cancer survivor. One day I was the picture of health. The next day, after finding a lump, doing a routine self-exam after my first mammogram, within a couple of months, I was a breast cancer patient. And so you just never know. And if you're forced into a situation like getting diagnosed suddenly with a serious illness and you don't have health care coverage, then you have to wait till you are so sick that you use the emergency room as your primary and most expensive access point. You're diagnosed at later stages with more complex healthcare needs and more expensive healthcare needs. And that is a life that is absolutely unacceptable for us to force people into. It's completely unnecessary. And, I don't know the details of what Trump's plan would be, But the bottom line is that they should come to the table, negotiate with Democrats, and make sure that we can hammer out a way to extend these tax credits, because we can't let people like one of my constituents who reached out to us the other day and said that they were going for their premiums would go from $386 a month to $1,500 a month unless those tax extensions are extended.
Well,
We've got to do that.
Right. And so, and now I'm seeing that Speaker Mike Johnson is telling Trump, hey, look, our House GOP, they ain't down with this. Okay, guess what? This now then puts Trump in a battle with his own Republicans, and let's see who wins this battle. And if I'm Democrats, I'm still hammering these folks every single day. Right. You know, listen, I think you were part of, there was I believe you were there. It was a healthcare discussion that was in New Orleans. It was Congressman Troy Carter.
Yes.
And so, listen, this is what I said then, and I still believe it. I said, hey, don't have 5 members of Congress in New Orleans. I said, send one Democrat to every district office of Mike Johnson, say, this is how many people in this district are going to lose health care because of this. To me, this is where they should be hammering. And guess what? If the Republicans do buckle, this is where Democrats should be running ads immediately saying, we made this happen, not Trump trying to take credit if this deal goes through.
Roland, we have been relentlessly traveling the country, doing town hall meetings in Republican districts where they refuse to have them. I'm a co-chair of the Steering and Policy Committee. Hakeem Jeffries has sent us all over the country to make sure that we can talk to folks and hear from them directly about what it would mean if they lost the tax credits, but also what having health care under the Affordable Care Act meant. They're no longer dropped or denied coverage because of pre-existing conditions. They can, through the Affordable Care Act, you can keep your kids on your insurance as parents until they're 26 years old. People forget about the provisions that apply to everybody. And in addition to that, making sure that we keep healthcare premiums affordable is, along with the whole issue of affordability in general. Donald Trump and the Republicans have not put a single bill on the floor of the Congress to lower people's costs, to make groceries more affordable. Energy costs are still skyrocketing. You name it, and across the board, particularly because of Trump's ridiculous tariffs, everything is more expensive. And the Republicans have basically told Americans, you can just go eat cake. We don't really care about your day-to-day living expenses. And Democrats do, and we're going to continue to press on that.
Got to get your thoughts on this here. Anthony, go to my iPad. How our Republicans have quietly put this guy as the number 2 at the Centers for Disease Control. He doesn't believe in vaccines. He doesn't believe in the Affordable Care Act. How in the hell is this person in the number 2 at the CDC? This shows you how crazy it is to put that nutcase with a worm in his brain, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., over the Department of Health and Human Services.
Nothing surprises me with the MAGA extremist movement when it comes to healthcare, Roland. In my state, Ron DeSantis, our governor, and Joseph Ladapo, his quack Surgeon General, have actually repealed the requirements for some vaccines and are going to push to repeal the requirements for kids in school for all vaccines, including mumps, measles, and rubella, and tetanus, and other diseases that have been eradicated nearly completely because of the vaccine policies. These people are kooks, and they don't believe in science, and they don't care about the impact when it comes to public health. We saw that during COVID, about their decisions on how they affect other people. People are going to get, I had an outbreak in my hometown in an elementary school of measles last year that our Surgeon General said through the Department of Public Health, they didn't have to keep their kids home. I mean, it's just mind-blowing, the quackery that they follow and how it impacts millions of people. We're going to see disease surge as a result of these irresponsible policies, and we have to fight back, and we have to do it at the ballot box next year.
Last question for you. On Monday, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, and I did a story about Dems building up a digital army. Now, I took issue with that because they basically left out anybody who's black or Latino. They got people in their story who got smaller shows than we have here. Now, here's what reason I think this is important. I was talking to a media buyer, and he said that there were individuals last year who told him, man, don't come to me with this nonsense with podcasts. And Democratic strategists just refuse to do anything when it comes to digital media. And we saw what happened, getting their butts kicked. I've said this specifically to Leader Jeffries. I've said it to Schumer as well. And I would hope folks like you, former head of the DNC, are telling the DNC, the DCCC, the Democratic Governors Association, all these people, you've got to be idiots if you're going to keep making these, and I call them white Democratic strategists because ain't that many black people there, millionaires who keep wanting to dump money on television. If Democrats are going to win the House or the Senate next year, it is going to go where the people are. What are you saying to these donors and these strategists, how they've got to stop thinking putting money on television is going to somehow lead you to victory? You got to put money on the ground. You got to put money in digital operations. What are you saying to them?
Well, the same thing that I said to you when we spoke all those years ago when you were in my office when I chaired the DNC, that we absolutely have to up our game, not just on social media, but making sure that we focus on a commitment to diversity in contracting, diversity in who it is around the table, and diversity in terms of how we are reaching out to audiences, whether they're black, Hispanic, or Asian, or Native American. It is absolutely critical that we are running the table when it comes to that kind of outreach. And, you know, to know better is to do better. I can tell you that we are upping our game. We made a really serious commitment, particularly as House Democrats, at making sure that we have influencers and that we have, each time we are doing media outreach, we have a social media row. We have influencers come in. We're trying to get on as many intricate, small platforms as possible. And I have to tell you that you committed and knew and told me all those years ago that you were going to make sure that there was a black network. And here we are. And it's just awesome to be able to join you again.
All right, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the family and food.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Likewise.
Folks, going to go to a break. We'll be right back. We'll check with our panel right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Are you ready for the holidays? This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about all things anxiety and the holidays, whether it's performance anxiety, presence versus presence, making certain that everybody in your space understands the boundaries and how to respect your home. This week, we're talking about those things that will allow you to have a peaceful holiday season.
It really is not about perfection. It's really about, you know, the house feeling warm and cozy and peaceful.
You don't have to like everybody, but what you can do is be cordial in those environments.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion in higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Godfrey, the funniest dude on the planet. And you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
My panel, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of D.C., Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor, University of Central Florida out of Orlando, Talek McMillan, social justice leader, movement strategist out of D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. Larry, I'll start with you. Again, it was amazing how many people kept saying, Democrats, they lost. What are they doing? This was stupid to actually have this government shut down. They should have backed down. They should have capitulated. Looks like they made their case, and the only reason Trump in the White House could be proposing this is because they see the election data on what's going to happen to them if these Affordable Care Act subsidies no longer exist come January 1st.
Roland, this is everything you discussed with the Congresswoman and we're discussing right now is critically important. The United States is about to experience a healthcare and economic collapse that we probably haven't seen since the last recession we had that began under Bush Jr. There are people, millions of Americans are going to end up losing their health insurance over the next couple of years. The other point, Roland, in terms of what you're saying, obviously the White House sees the numbers. We saw what just happened a couple weeks ago in Virginia and New Jersey, et cetera. And it could get a lot worse over the next several months in terms of, as we move into the next midterm elections and then obviously the next presidential election. But one thing I want to highlight that I don't think we haven't discussed a lot is during the Biden administration, they got rid of, if you had healthcare issues with paying for health insurance, things relating to being hospital stays and, these mounting bills. It wouldn't go on your credit report anymore. The Trump administration reversed that. So not only, like I said, do you have that, in terms of you losing your health care, but also the amount of money people will have to spend traditionally, for care, it will no longer be there. And in addition to that, all these, expenses will go on your credit report. People won't be able to buy things. It's going to have a dramatic impact on the economy, particularly for those in red states.
It also just shows you, again, how potent and important this issue is. Mustafa, you've got Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa who chose not to seek re-election. And, man, it's a lot of people in Iowa who are pissed off about those subsidies possibly going away.
Well, they're pissed off because they understand that health care isn't a privilege, right? It's a lifeline, if you will. Many folks say that health care is a human right. And when you think about not having it, you understand what that actually means. So, of course, they're going to start to pay attention now because many of their constituencies are speaking out. They're not just speaking out, they're yelling out because they understand the impacts that will happen, one, to their family, two, to the life, how long they might actually live if you don't have the health care that you need, and to their wealth as well. So as Larry said, medical debt is one of the major reasons for bankruptcy. It's not the only one in our country, but it plays a significant role. And that's why I've never understood. I worked on HR 676, which was a universal health care bill when I worked for Conyers. And at that time, we understood we had all these healthcare horror stories that were coming in, all these different dynamics that were just devastating families. And these stories now are probably moving forward to all these members, both on the Senate and the House side, and they're understanding how significant this is. The last thing that I'll say, Roland, is that they've attacked since 2010, March 2010, I believe, when the Affordable Care Act actually passed. There's been over 100 different times that they've tried to defund it, to repeal it, to deauthorize it, all these different types of things. So I think it's apropos now in this moment that he's going to have to actually kiss Obama's ring for everything that he did. And many of these times that they tried to take it away and have never been successful because it is something that this country actually needs.
Tyler, I remember there were people who were on this show saying, oh, Democrats should not stand behind the government shutdown. Don't make this the issue. And I kept saying, as it continued, I felt between the Epstein Files and how the right was imploding and this healthcare battle that Democrats were finally gaining their sea legs. They spent, 9 months trying to figure out how to pierce the MAGA armor, and I thought they finally did it. If Trump begins to push extending these subsidies for 2 years, Democrats should be taking victory laps everywhere and reminding everybody, no, we made him do this. He didn't do it because he was generous.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. It's always great to be on it. And I'll always, repeat what was said. Healthcare is not just like some abstract policy fight. It's really literally a line in the sand between people's life and death for millions of people. So when we say this, like this is a line in the sand, we mean is literally when you cross the line, people will die. And I think extending the subsidies continues to protect coverage. It expands access. And I think anything less than that is really a moral failure. And the fact that we look at Black families, we live at the intersection of racism, of economic inequality, political neglect, and every decision as we talk about healthcare is really a life or death situation. And I believe that when healthcare becomes unaffordable, families then have to sacrifice treatment. They have to skip medication. They have to, shoulder this pain in silence. And so I think healthcare is just this line in the sand where people say, life and death is on the line. I think this is definitely not some abstract policy fight, but it's something where folks really have to see, I got to live long enough to make it to the ballot box, and so I think this is important. And expanding coverage, it gives access to more families. And I think that's why this conversation is so important.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk international. How stupid is Donald Trump and his people? Bloomberg broke this exclusive story, folks, and the right is going crazy. Go to my iPad, Anthony. Witkoff advised Russia on how to pitch Ukraine plan to Trump. Folks, this story is unbelievable. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff had a phone call with Putin's top aide, talking about how they work together, talking about the 28-point peace plan. Y'all, it's unbelievable. Now, first of all, Trump's people leaked this. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. And this is what Stephen Chung goes. This story proves one thing. Special Envoy Witkoff talks to officials in both Russia and Ukraine nearly every day to achieve peace, which is exactly what President Trump appointed him to do. Here's how bad it is, y'all. In the conversation, he's coaching the Russians on how to flatter Trump to get him to accept the deal. Yeah. Told them also that, it's essentially y'all deal, but we're going to present it as if it's our deal. Look at this. Here's what I think would be amazing, Witkoff said. Maybe he says to Trump, meaning Putin, Steve and Yuri discussed a very similar 20-point plan to peace that could be something that we think might move the needle a little bit. We're open to these sort of things. Y'all, it was the Russian plan. Look at this here. Yushikov appeared to take some of the advice on board. Putin will congratulate and will say Mr. Trump is a real peace man. What the hell, Mustafa? An American envoy coaching the Russians on how to kiss Donald Trump's ring?
It's just amazing. We know that in any other administration, you would already have been fired. Once this story came out, you would be gone automatically. And we also understand it makes no sense. You know, I was thinking about the veterans and all the wars that we fought in to protect this country, to protect democracy, all the things that we say are the reasons why we end up going and you know, with military action and those different types of things. And then you see individuals who go with folks who have always been our enemy, who have never wanted to see this country be able to succeed, and you work behind the scenes to help them to achieve their goals. And of course, the goal in relationship to Ukraine is being able to steal the land that those folks that belongs to them, and a number of different dynamics. But just it's almost mind-boggling to have an official who would go out and do these types of things, and for them to still have a job after the story comes out.
It also goes to show you, Tylik, Donald Trump is just owned by Putin.
Absolutely. He kisses the ring to Putin. I think when a nation...
I think he kisses more than a ring.
No, well, yeah, kissing the backside where the sun don't shine. When a nation claims to be global defenders of democracy and then all of a sudden just, bows, it kind of raises the real question of like who freedom really matters. And I think it sends a message that justice is optional, that it's negotiable, and it's only worth defending when it's politically comfortable. And I think we live in this time where it has to be politically comfortable. And I think we must continue to stand on the shoulders of freedom, because at this point, folks are losing the right to their home. Like they're getting pushed out of their home, and yet the global defenders of democracy is kissing the behind of leaders like Putin.
Larry?
Roland, when this story came out and I looked at some of the details, it was clear it was a pro-Russia document. I mean, they didn't have to sacrifice anything for invading Ukraine. I think the other thing we have to talk about is that in the past, in this country, there would have been called for a bipartisan special counsel to investigate what has happened. And this would end most administrations, Roland. This is a huge issue. But the problem with this administration is these are like daily occurrences with these kind of scandals. But like I said, you would usually see a special counsel call, we're currently don't have a healthy democracy, and there's no counterbalance in terms of what the House and Senate is supposed to do in terms of offering some kind of check and balances on the executive branch. But this story is I've never heard anything like this before. And like I said, also ask questions about who's compromised.
I'm telling you right now, folks, these people are nuts. They have no business being in power. All right, got to go to a break. We come back. Muriel Bowser not running for re-election as the mayor of D.C. We'll talk about that. We'll hear what she had to say. Also, we'll break down some other news. And, I earlier you heard me talk about this Washington Post story that to me is just unbelievable. How they can write about all of these new media outlets, but they're lily white. Nobody black or brown mentioned in the entire piece. Do black people not exist? The Washington Post? If that's what happens when you fire nearly all the black people. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. Just hit right here, bottom left-hand corner. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Back in a moment.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
This week on the other side of change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Many states are awaiting the Supreme Court's ruling in the critical case concerning Louisiana's congressional map. This ruling could have significant implications for how race is considered in redistricting across the nation. It could influence the future of the Voting Rights Act. Now, Republicans, though, are still trying to do all they can to steal elections. Let's talk about what's happening in Texas. If you want to understand how crazy these people are. So, the Republicans put forth a law in Texas that will allow them to take over the voting in one county. Let me say it again. They could take over one county. You know what that county is? Harris County. Now you might add, okay, Roland, I don't understand. What's the deal? Easy. It's the largest county in the state. There are 254 counties. It's the largest county. So Paul Bettencourt, former county official, he put forth this bill that said that if one person complained, the state could take over Harris County elections. So look at this here. This is the Houston Chronicle. State threatens to take over Harris County elections after voters found registered at UPS stores. So look at this here. The Secretary of State's office could cut funding for elections in Harris County after a Houston senator discovered more than 100 voters registered at P.O. boxes. Save for a few exceptions, residents have been generally prohibited from registering to vote at post offices and other non-residential addresses after a bill Senator Paul Bettencourt authored became law in 2018. Bettencourt filed a formal complaint Thursday against the tax office, which oversees voter registration in Harris County, and called on tax assessor collector Annette Ramirez to purge the rolls. Now, if you go in here and read this here, is that they want to be able to take over the entire process. Why is that important? Because they can't stand the fact that Harris County is blue. And so they fought Harris County on everything. Right here, look at this say. Texas Senate Bill 510 went into effect September 1st and empowered the Secretary of State to withhold election funding if a registrar, quote, fails to timely perform a duty. The bill gave Nelson the authority to place Harris County under, quote, administrative oversight should an investigation find a recurring pattern of problems in the election process. Administrative oversight would empower Nelson to act as the approving authority for all elections, policies, and procedures, and send staff to inspect polls and conduct in-person observations of tax office personnel assigned to elections operations. Well, Larry, isn't that interesting that the very person who authored the bill, and all it takes is one person complaining, is the very person who's now complaining? And so what they want to do is, leading into a midterm, they want to be in control of the Harris County voting roll. And again, there are 254 counties in Texas. This bill by Paul Bettencourt only applies to one of the 254 counties, and it happens to be Harris County.
Yeah, shocking, but not shocking. I think one of the things I want to highlight, Roland, about this bill and their actions after that is, we was having a conversation about Republicans believing that, local entities, governments have the right to make certain decisions. Roland, from the air, Harris County is always constantly under attack in terms of Republicans trying to take over, voting systems, funding, et cetera. This is just another example. This is why we needed, a stronger Voting Rights Act and a Supreme Court who's willing to support that. This is just, and my sister lives in Harris County. This is just another overly racist example of trying to prevent Black and brown people from voting and from having an impact on local and obviously state and federal elections. But we can't allow this to stand. But this is just another example of Republicans doing things that they say that Democrats attempt to do all the time. So it's unfair. And I hope Harris County continues to fight this.
Here's what I think to be hilarious, Mustafa. This is the Houston Chronicle story. While SB 510 applies to all Texas counties, the Allen Vera Election Accountability Act of 2023 is limited to counties with a population of more than 4 million, a number exceeded only by Harris County. So, yeah, it applies to all in Texas, but it only applies to one.
Right. I mean, the game is rigged. We know that the game is rigged. And these individuals understand that there's no way for them to win unless they continue to rig the game. We also understand that we had a Department of Justice that actually honored the Voting Rights Act and everything that comes out of that they would be, doing what they can to actually address these types of egregious behaviors that continue to happen inside of Texas. And that's why we say that elections have consequences. So, one, we got to make sure that we have the right things happening on the federal level, but we got to also make sure that on the ground level, that folks have the resources that they need, that we are supporting the organizations that are out there fighting against these types of actions on the local and the county level. And that we got to continue to highlight this so that folks can see how evil these types of acts are that these individuals continue to do and hold them accountable. And the way that you hold them accountable is by each and every person actually getting out there and voting, and then making sure that we have the infrastructure in place to stop these types of things from happening.
Mustafa said it very clearly, Tyler. It's called rigged. And the Republicans love talking about voter fraud. They love talking about rigged elections. There is no place where they want to rig elections more than in Harris County, Texas.
Absolutely, because they're one of the most diverse, populous counties in the country.
No, it's black.
I think it's
one
of the biggest, blackest communities in the country, and I think that's why it's always being attacked. And I think it is that strategy to put fear into the folks that live there to say your vote only counts when we say it does. And I think that undermines democracy in itself. And I think no matter what obstacles they continue to put in the way of folks in Harris County, from voter suppression to budget cuts to attacks on all type of attacks from civil rights. But I think it just shows that our power doesn't come from permission. It really comes from our presence of us showing up. And as I said before, I believe that it will be the organizers and the folks on the ground in communities who will continue to speak up, speak truth to power, to really protect one another, because we are unstoppable. And yet, though they try to stop us from that very fundamental right to vote, we continue to organize and to register and to show up. And I think this is just another obstacle, but we can't be unfazed and stop by it.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about what's happening in Fayette County, Tennessee. 2021, the county created a map that excluded any majority black districts. The maps were produced despite the board's counsel admitting that the plan unlawfully diluted the voting power of black residents, who make up approximately 25% of the population. Earlier this year, black residents secured a temporary victory after, alongside the local NAACP, they filed a lawsuit against Fayette County claiming that the map violated the Voting Rights Act of 1965, facing the threat of litigation following another complaint submitted by the Department of Justice under President Joe Biden. County officials adopted a revised map for the 2026 elections that includes 3 majority black districts. Bolts, a publication that covers voting and civil rights, recently published the story "Black Residents in West Tennessee Just Won Fairer Districts. Now Comes SCOTUS." The writer, Pascal Sabino, joins us right now. Pascal, glad to have you here. I mean, this is what we're always talking about, how white Republicans will do all they can to stop black people from being properly represented. And when you have your own lawyer saying, yeah, this is illegal, but they didn't care.
That's right. In fact, in the DOJ lawsuit, one of the people on the redistricting commission for Fayette County actually said, hey, why do we even need to worry about black voters? We've never really concerned ourselves with them in the past. And so it's created a huge feeling of being disregarded by the local government in Western Tennessee, where people don't have a voice in city council. They don't have anybody to fight for them for issues that matter to them, which is especially worrisome in a large rural community.
They literally said, we don't give a damn about black folks.
They didn't use those words, but my mother taught me to read between the lines, and I think that's the intention is pretty clear.
Unbelievable. So now explain to people this county. What's the makeup of this county? How large is it? Where is it located?
So Fayette County is in Western Tennessee, just a couple hours outside of Memphis. A lot of shared history there. It's about a quarter black, but in the county commission, there are 19 members. None of them are black, and that's certainly by design.
19 county commissioners in Fayette County, none are black, but it's 25% black.
That's right.
Now, are people in Fayette County, they're all elected countywide?
The county commission?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the county commission, all those 19 seats, several of them, a large amount of those are actually multi-member districts. And in fact, the VRA has in the past, in many places around the country, been used to break apart multi-member districts because of the fact that when there are either at-large or multi-member districts, they tend to dilute the power of Black voters, Latino voters, by sort of pulling them into large districts where they're vastly underrepresented and have very little ability to elect candidates of their choice. Now, that wasn't the core issue with this case. The bigger issue was just that out of all of the maps that were proposed, maps proposed by the county's attorney, maps proposed by the state controller, there were several maps proposed in 2021 during that redistricting process that created either 2 or 3, depending on the map, majority black districts. The county essentially said, we don't want any of these. We're going to go with a different map that provides for no majority black districts.
Wow, that is absolutely, positively insane. Questions from my panel. Larry, you first.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked a few minutes ago about the Voting Rights Act. I'm curious about what are some of the local activists in the community, what are some of the steps they're taking as they deal with this issue?
So this year, in January, shortly after the DOJ filed their lawsuit, the local chapter of the NAACP filed a subsequent lawsuit. They'd been organizing, hosting rallies, and they were also joined by the Legal Defense Fund, as well as just community members who wanted a fair shake in the government. They actually won that. They essentially won the lawsuit in that the county agreed to adopt a fairer map, one that provides for 3 majority black districts. They only did that because they were sued. And so there's a lot of concern from folks if the VRA is ultimately weakened, which seems pretty likely. It seems that the conservative supermajority on the Supreme Court seems intent on weakening or eliminating Section 2 of the VRA. That's the portion that protects against discriminatory vote dilution, often applied to, again, multi-member districts, at-large districts, but most often redistricting practices that minimize the power of black votes by either cracking black communities, diminishing those voting blocks by spreading them into multiple districts where they'd be a smaller minority, or packing black communities or communities of color into one district so that their influence would be limited. Though if Section 2 of the VRA is eliminated or weakened, folks in the community are absolutely certain. I mean, I talked to a lot of folks, several of the plaintiffs, as well as just people in the community. They're absolutely certain that at some point, if there is no VRA to protect them, that the county will come back and reinstitute an electoral system that boxes them, totally excludes them out of government, which is what we see today in Fayette. Now, because the county agreed earlier this year to adopt new maps that provide for 3 districts that are majority black, people do have some hope. They're working to get people registered to vote. They're trying to get people politically engaged. They're trying to overcome decades and decades of this feeling of disillusionment or feeling like government voting doesn't matter. It's not for us because we've been kept out of it. And so they're fighting sort of an uphill battle of making sure that while we have a fair map, while there is an opportunity for black communities in Fayette, Tennessee to elect officials of their own choosing, they want to make sure that people take advantage of that opportunity because there's no saying whether it's a couple of years from now or whether it's in 2030 after the next census. People are absolutely certain that if these protections no longer exist, their county is going to try to keep them out of the government. So while the opportunity is here, they're hoping to solidify any amount of control or any voice in government that they can, not just so that their interests are represented, but also so that they have an opportunity to have some voices in the county board of commissioners who can say, if a new discriminatory map does get proposed, they need somebody who can be on their side to say, this is not okay, this is illegal, this is discriminatory, and who can fight for them to have their fair representation. Well, this is why I have said to many people, Mustafa, that this Supreme Court decision is not just affecting congressional races, it's going to affect state races, county races, city races, school board races as well.
Yeah, I mean, it goes all across the country, and folks got to understand that. If you're going to be a student of strategy, you look at how Republicans actually moved, and they focused on, all of these different races. They didn't just focus on what's happening in the president's level or on Congress. They were looking at that local level and figuring out ways to manipulate the system to get what they wanted. Roland, the other thing that's interesting, and we talk about it here on the Black Star Network all the time, is I'm curious of the 25% of our folks who are there in the county, how many folks are actually voting? Because that also is critically important. When you have those windows of opportunity, we have to take advantage of those, and we've got to make sure that we're getting out and voting in significant numbers to be able to get our folks in place so that we can expand out. So, it is understanding how this is playing out across the country, but it is also understanding that we have power and that we've got to utilize it when those opportunities present themselves.
I did speak with some folks at local churches and with the local chapter of the NAACP. They said that the rates that people vote, the rate that Black folks in the community vote is unfortunately pretty low. I mean, people feel like they don't have a voice in government, and they know they've seen their own elected officials say, we don't care about these people. We don't need to consider them. And so there's this huge feeling of, why should I take my time to go and vote if the system is already rigged? That feeling that the system is rigged sort of reinforces a lot of the difficulties and reinforces those low turnout rates.
Tyler?
Yeah, thank you so much. And we, as you just said, we know that when counties purge roads and close polling locations, it is really targeted suppression. And as you said, in turn, it creates apathy among voters. So my question for you, as we look at the Supreme Court and them reviewing the cases, we know that this could impact, as you just said, maps nationwide. What are the immediate risks, and how is the community ready to defend it against political rollback?
So currently, the folks in Fayette, they're concerned that if the VRA is weakened, there will be an attack on their ability to elect their own candidates. They don't know when that's going to happen. There is an election coming up next year in Fayette for the county board. They say it's pretty unlikely that there's probably not enough time. Let's say if the VRA, if this Calais ruling came tomorrow that weakened Section 2 of the VRA, they say even then there's probably not enough time for the county to immediately roll back the newly implemented fairer maps and switch back to a map with no representation. However, they know it's coming, and so there's a lot of work being done at the grassroots effort to make sure that people are aware and to bring attention to the issues that matter to them. Part of how they're doing that in Fayette is by reminding people of their history. So in the beginning in 1959 in Fayette County, there was a huge effort for Black folks to register to vote, largely because there was a murder trial where a Black man was accused of murdering a local officer. The officer was part of a lynch mob, mind you. This man who was accused of murder, his jury was all white. He was ultimately convicted, and there's a fair amount of questions around the legitimacy of that case. Now, his attorney responded to that by getting people registered to vote, because people have to be registered to vote in that county. They had to be registered to vote to serve on a jury. And so this kind of fight for a fairer criminal justice system overlapped with this fight for voting rights. When those folks started registering to vote, those were sharecroppers. The landowners evicted them. So there were hundreds of families who were evicted and became homeless because in retaliation for registering to vote. Those folks gathered together after a Black landowner opened his farm and brought people, gave people a place to come to. That ended up being called Tent City, and it was a sort of local flashpoint in the struggle for voting rights, where it drew lots of attention through its proximity to Memphis, drew some attention from the local, from the Memphis ACLU, NAACP, organizers like Ella Baker and Dr. Martin Luther King also came to support the folks at Tent City. And so there's a long history in Fayette County of folks fighting tooth and nail for their right to access to the polls. And so a lot of the folks I talk to are saying, hey, we need to invoke this history. We need to remember that the right to vote is something that people had to fight for, and it's a fight that's not over, especially when it comes to young people who feel so separated often from political systems. There's an effort to make those people feel proud of their history and feel like they are carrying a torch that those who came before passed along to us, and that it's a continuation of a longstanding struggle.
And Pascal Sabino, great job. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. Curl Mix having some serious issues, and their CEO says if we don't have a substantial amount of sales between now and the end of the year, we're going to go out of business. She joins us next right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Our legal roundtable is back in session as we look at yet another potential landmark case being considered by the United States Supreme Court. This one is called 303 Creative versus Alennis, and may be the most important and far-reaching First Amendment, that is freedom of speech, case of our time. It could, depending on how the court rules, open the door for a return of Jim Crow segregation laws. It's true.
If you say we can discriminate against one, you're saying we can discriminate against all.
That's on the next Black Table. Don't miss it. Right here on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
This week on the other side of change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, and higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
folks, a couple of months ago, Morgan DeBon, who is the CEO of Blavity, posted a video that was essentially an SOS video from a black Chicago business owner who we featured on our show, who also was on Shark Tank. She's asking for the public's help. Tim Lewis, who owns the hair care brand Curl Mix, says high cost due to tariffs, inflation, and other challenges could very well put her out of business by the end of the year. This is what she posted on social media about the state of Curl Mix.
You guys, I hoped I'd never have to make a video like this. Curl Mix may have to close on December 31st. We need 20,000 orders to remain open, and this has been the most difficult year in business. This year in business was harder than COVID, with tariffs and taxes and ingredient costs going up and shipping time slowing down. Yes, our team went from a size 40 to 14. And that partially explains why, we've had some delayed orders or longer replies in customer service. Everyone on my team is doing 2 to 3 different jobs, and we hire locally, stateside for most of our roles. And it has just been so hard to stay alive. So many of my friends' businesses have closed, and I made a post about this last year that we didn't want to be one of them. And our crowdfund that we raised last year was not enough. We needed 4 times what we actually raised, and we didn't get it. It was a tough market. And so my family pulled together cash. I borrowed money from some mentors, and that's what's gotten us to this point, you guys. We've been the most efficient with our capital that we've ever been in any year in business. We've lost the least amount of money for the amount of revenue that we had. We are truly operating way better than we ever have, but cash is tighter. It's hard to get inventory. Business is just harder to run, and funding is dried up. There's no other place to get the money. And so I never wanted to make a video like this, but I figure if Curl Mix is important and if it deserves to be here and if our community wants it, our community will show up for it. I believe that. I really, really believe that. I love what we do and who we do it for and who we serve. And the only reason that I have not given up and that I am still here is because you guys invested in me. You guys invested in Curl Mix. You bought equity in our company, and I want to continue to show up for you. So I'm not giving up. Okay. We're launching Protect Curl Mix, which is essentially our campaign where you spend $100 or you buy a Curl Mix bundle or Protect Curl Mix bundle, or you donate. And if we get 20,000 orders in the next 60 days, we can stay alive so that I continue to serve you and give you guys good products and not make things that are toxic for you. We have a high standard of quality in our ingredients, our products, and what we serve and what we give you. And I want to continue to do that for women like us, people like us. I think we deserve that. I want to continue to add jobs in the community. I want to keep jobs local. I want to make impact, and you guys can be a part of that. And thank you for everything you've done thus far. You're like, girl, I don't got it to give. That's okay. Can you share the campaign? I appreciate everything that you've done. Truly, truly, truly. Yeah, guys, help us protect Curl Mix. And thank you for everything you've done thus far. We couldn't be here without you.
All right, folks. Kim Lewis joins us right now. Kim, glad to have you here. So let's walk through this here. You talked about the crowdfund y'all did. What goal did you set with that crowdfund, and how much did y'all raise?
We needed about $5 million in our last crowdfund, and we raised $5 million.
You say you needed $5 million, and you raised what?
1.5.
You raised 1.5. How long ago was that crowdfund?
That was last year in March, April.
Okay. And so obviously that helped, but it wasn't actually what you needed. I mean, that's about 25% in terms of what you were trying to get. And you laid out in terms of the issues that you have, the challenges that you've been having. And what was the predominant issue? Was it Donald Trump's tariffs that changed it? Because I talked to some other business owners, and people don't even understand. First of all, Donald Trump kept lying by saying that Americans would not pay for the tariffs. That's not true. I was talking to another sister who owns a business, and she said what happened was her products would come in, they would be at the dock, and they would literally say, oh, no, you got to pay us the full amount for your product before we could release them. Is that what you're also facing?
So it's a combination, right? I almost call it like a trifecta. So you've got the cost of goods going up. Okay. You also got the funding environment changed entirely, which it changed in two ways. Funding for consumer goods went from 100% almost to zero from investors. But then you also have the restrictions on DEI. So the pullbacks in like a Target or a Walmart or whatever. So like the retail environment is changing. So a lot of the curly hair brands are actually down behind the scenes, but you just don't know about it, right? I have friends who are in retail and they're like, everyone's down except one brand. I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's not just me. And that was one of the reasons I came out with the campaign, because we're all dealing with this. But, sometimes I think people are too embarrassed to say that they're dealing with it.
Right.
But big brands, small brands, you could be doing $1 million a year, you could be doing $30 million a year. Everybody's down. And then you also have the restriction on economy, right? Inflation's insane. And people just have less money and it stretches very little. And so I think when you look at the tariffs, you look at DEI funding, you look at CPG funding, you look at the economy, inflation. For anyone who's doing business on this side of the river, you know what I mean? In the States, I have a manufacturing facility. At one point we had 40 people and we now have 14. But thankfully, because of the campaign to protect Curl Mix, we've actually been able to add back 3 to 4 jobs. And they're seasonal for now, but if we're able to maintain this volume, they'll be permanent. And I think that's the whole point of what we're trying to do is like keep jobs local, manufacture here stateside, hire Black folks. And I think Protect Curl Mix is allowing us to do that, but we have to definitely protect our own more and more and more if we want to see them thrive and be here, especially at the end of this administration.
Okay, and so, again, the point that you made there about, for instance, the attacks on DEI, and I kept explaining to people, I did a whole video, and people were like, some people were like, yeah, I think you're overstating this, and I said, no. I said, I felt that MAGA was trying to defund Black America. And I said, as a result of these attacks, I said, they are attacking Black academics, they're attacking Black business, they're attacking Black nonprofits, they're attacking every institution. Then what do we find out? 300,000 plus Black women lose jobs. So here's a perfect example. When 300,000 Black women lose jobs, they're not spending money on their hair. Well, listen, I may have had curly hair, of course, but I'm not buying Curl Mix. Black women are buying your product. Black women lose jobs, then that impacts the downflow of their spending.
Agree, 1,000%. It affects media as well, Black media. You can't even find, if I'm looking for certain current events, some Black media is not even in the top 5 or 10 on, a Google or a GPT. And I was like, oh, this is an attack. This is orchestrated. It's strategic. It's not just, we're just going to increase the cost of goods so that we can make more money. It's not. It's so much more than that.
All right. So you put this out about 3 weeks ago. You said you need 20,000 orders. Where do you stand now? I mean, and I take it, you're doing like anybody else. You're doing a daily, hourly check where we are.
So my community has showed up amazingly for us. We are at about 7,000 orders. So we're pacing to hit about 10,000 this month and 10,000 next month, which would get us to the 20,000. So every order counts. I'm grateful for the orders big and small, the $5 orders, the $100 orders, the donations, the actual ordering of products, or even just sharing the campaign. I know not everybody has money, right? It's a recession. But yeah, about 7,000 orders. So things are going really, really well.
Okay. All right. So again, they're going well, but the reality is you got to hit that 20,000. And so let me be clear. You can't hit 18,000. You can't hit 19,000. And I'm saying that because you're looking at that revenue produced. And this is what I try to explain to people to understand business. It's not a question of, okay, all right, we paid our bills through November and December. No, the reality is when you start talking about a business, you are literally projecting, okay, I got to have enough money in the bank to cover my expenses through the first quarter of 2026 so I don't have to lay off people, any more people, correct?
Yes. So some people will look at that and say, oh, that's 20,000 orders for $100. Like, that's $2 million. That should be enough. Or that's more than enough. And they don't realize that if you're purchasing a product, half of that $2 million is gone because I'm paying for cost of goods, my team, like the labor, the fees associated with the business, all the things. So imagine half of that's gone. The other half of that is debt that I'm paying off, which is one of the reasons I had to do this campaign.
Right.
And then the other half of that might be in the bank, and that we need money to operate. My business needs to do $500,000 a month in order to stay around. Because we have a manufacturing facility and a sizable team, and we're hand making products, and we're using only the highest quality ingredients, things that have a low toxicity score on the EWG scale, the Environmental Working Group scale. Products marketed to Black women, a lot of them, they have like 7 and 8 rankings on the toxicity level that you might buy at a beauty supply or things like that. Our products have we maxed out at a 3 for most of our ingredients, except maybe like our preservative, things like that. Our preservative might be a 3 or 4. But that's really low on the toxicity scale, where we're buying things like, oh, well, this is cheaper, but I'm like, it's also more dangerous. And so we're buying only the best ingredients for your hair care, and it's not cheap to do, especially not ethically, where we're hiring Black folks, giving them benefits, and providing good jobs in our community. Black folks, Black-owned businesses are the highest employers of Black people. So if our businesses go down, our community goes down.
So, again, and this is the thing, what you just laid out right there, I'm always trying to explain to people the fundamentals of business. And look, I got no problem saying it, what we built here. The reality is I had somebody who applied for a job, and they say, hey, do you do benefits? I said, no. And they were like, man, why not? I said, okay, let me explain to you the reality of the cost. If your employment costs are $1.5 million, I said, you need to look at going up to $2.5 to $3 million when you start adding benefits. And they weren't quite understanding what I was talking about. And I said, that's because you're an employee. You've only worked at places. You don't understand the business side of the business. And so what you just laid out, you're doing benefits. You're not trying to put bullshit in your products. And so which means that because you are now trying to have, frankly, safer, healthier product, those are more expensive. And so all of a sudden you're just, okay, that's more expensive. And guess what? That profit line is decreasing. Otherwise, you got to raise your prices. And then people are going to say, oh, my God, Kim's prices and Curl Mix prices, they're way too high. And so this is really sort of the class that I think so many people have to understand when people talk about, oh, we need more Black-owned businesses. And I say, hey, if you don't know jack about business, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Roland. That is, or should I say Mr. Martin?
Mr. Martin is my daddy. I'm Roland.
Okay, Roland. No, you're absolutely right. It's more expensive to do business that way. So one of the things that we've decided to do to combat the price issue, so most of the things on our site are full price, but we do offer an insane bundle where it's 10 products for $10 each. So the bundle itself is probably worth $300, but we're giving it to people for about $100. And so we still get a good amount of profit from that, and we also give you a ton of value. And that way we can kind of give you, pricing that's better than retail without the huge cost to the business. And so definitely check out our website, Protect Curl Mix. That 10 for 10 offer is a better Black Friday deal than you're going to see on anybody's website for sure.
Okay, so, all right, so here's the other thing that, so let's take it further. Let's say, all right, you hit 20,000 in sales. Okay. How are you repositioning the company to get through 2026? Because there's not going to be a change in the White House. So we're going to have this crazy nonsensical, you have no idea what the hell tariffs are going to happen. So how are you positioning the company to be able to survive if you get through this 20,000? How many are you going to have to do per month to survive through 2026?
That's a great question, Roland. So we had a profitable month this year in July. We did over $500,000, like $535,000 that month. And what I, learned is my business needs volume. So we need to be able to spend a certain amount of money on ads and get a certain return. We would normally see in years prior like a 2.5 return on investment or return on ad spend. This year we saw a 3.3. In the month of October, which is normally our worst month ever, we had a 5X, but we had such a low budget, we couldn't spend what we wanted to spend. So our marketing had really great results, but we need a certain level of volume to have profitability. And so what this campaign is doing, we already had the offer that works for us. We already had the products people loved, but by the time we figured out that offer, we had so much debt that each month I'm deciding between inventory, advertising, and debt. And if you pay for inventory and ads, but you don't pay your debt, that's a problem. If you pay your debt and your ads, but you don't have any inventory, that's a problem. And then if you pay only your debt and your inventory, but the ads are not on, you don't have volume, so that's a problem.
So where are you advertising?
Meta or Facebook. That's our primary, because we're a .com, right? So we're a website. This campaign pretty much eliminates all of our short-term debt and gives us, a few $100,000 in operating cash in the bank. And essentially, I'm just paying for inventory and ads every month. And as long as I'm spending X amount and I'm doing over $500,000 a month, then we will be in a really good position.
Right.
So that's
so you got to, but so again, you got to do $500,000 in revenue every single month in order for you, because you say you did 535, so that's a $35,000 profit. So that's what you have to do.
Yeah, at a minimum. But I think we can do more. We were getting better results. Our debt was crushing us. Right.
And so where are you now on your debt?
We've paid down a few $100,000, but we need December to be successful. So you're absolutely right. We need the 20,000 orders. Otherwise, that debt's still going to be sitting there. We're going to have the same problem. So we need to get to those 20,000 orders.
Okay. Let's see here. Questions from my panel. Mustafa, you first.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm curious, and I think this is important for folks who are watching to actually know why you started Curl Mix. What was the passion that drove you to actually start it?
It was wanting to know exactly what was in my hair care products. Like, people tell you what's in it, but you don't really know unless you make it yourself. And so Curl Mix actually started as a do-it-yourself box for curly hair. Think Blue Apron, but for hair. And we basically would send you all the materials to make your own hair care products in a box. And our flaxseed gel was our #1 selling box. So we turned it into a ready-made product and pivoted the business and focused entirely on wash and goes for the first few years of the business. And that's kind of how we, our rise to fame and how we ended up on Shark Tank and things like that. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons, too, we had to manufacture. So one of the reasons our cost of goods are so high is because we have our own manufacturing facility where we make everything. And we really couldn't go to an overseas manufacturer in China because no one wanted to make flaxseed gel. Essentially, we're boiling the raw flax seeds that you would normally eat. You might use it as an egg substitute or put it in a smoothie. Well, when you boil them, you get a really gooey gel. We extract the gel in our facility, put it in a bottle, preserve it, and then ship it to our customers. So it's like an organic gel. But no one else is willing to do that if you went to a typical contract manufacturer.
Yeah.
Larry?
Congrats.
Larry, you on? Yeah, there we go. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to congratulate you from, putting together a wonderful product. I remember seeing you the last couple of years and your success. And I'm wondering, if you have, ideally, if you could, you're able to continue to raise revenue and things continue to move forward over, this quarter into the next quarter, what would be the ideal situation in terms of revenue? And then what would you do with that, additional revenue? Would you focus on marketing, paying down the debt?
Ideal is $1 million a month. Larry, go ahead. Larry, go ahead and finish. I'm messing with you.
No, I'm just curious. Well, what would you invest in? What are the things you would invest in?
So one of my main goals next year is to do somewhere between 7 and 10 million, right? And to have 20% profit margins and be able to comfortably employ my team, have payroll reserves, and just have a normal year where we're not stressing over cash. That would be phenomenal, right? And then I would say my big dream for us is to be more of a Lush. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Lush is not a typical, I'm going to go and get my cheap shampoo and conditioner. It's a luxury experience. You go and you buy this small batch handmade, skin and body products, or body and face products. And then, they're natural, so they have a shelf life, a shorter shelf life than everything else. but they have little pop-up stores, you know, one in every major city. They don't have they're not like a Walmart or Target. They're not everywhere. They're just these small pop-up stores, and you might go and spend $200 at Lush or $300 at Lush or $400. You might go once a quarter. I know I used to do that. And so I think that's really kind of how we fit in the beauty industry, in the beauty conversation. But my first investment would really just be cash reserves so that we can function like a comfortable, profitable business and be able to secure the jobs that I'm hiring for.
Tyler?
Yes, thank you so much again, and congratulations on everything. I believe that supporting Black businesses is an act of radical love, and so I'm sending you Godspeed and blessings towards your campaign. I'm speaking abundance and overflow over your business, and so just congratulations in advance. What has this experience taught you about these challenges faced by Black-owned businesses, and how can communities and policymakers step in to support entrepreneurs like you in times like this?
Ooh, I love that, community and policymakers. There are programs that are offering grants right now. I think we need more of them, right? Like I know there's like a grant for manufacturers right now for $100K. If the deadline was October 31st, they extended it. I'm seeing some brands do different things. I know New Market Tax Credits had something where if you move to a certain impoverished area, you would get a grant. And so we operate actually in one of those areas. So more programs like that I think would help from a policy perspective. And then you also asked, am I missing it? You asked about what can policymakers do, and then you asked
what the community, what has this experience taught you about what Black-owned businesses face in times like this?
So yeah, this is so good. So a lot of times, what I was doing when I initially started Curlmix, I originally wanted to be a tech founder, and then I moved over to the venture track. And you know, sometimes we want to play like the white boys. We want to like raise the money and go after the big goals and not focus on profit. And then when you get into a bind or a crunch, everybody's like, well, why aren't you profitable? And I'm like, what do you mean? That wasn't the requirement. The goal was growth. We were growing. But the thing is, for Black founders, there's no Series B and C and D, and you're not going to have that follow-on funding. So you're almost handicapped from jump. So when you raise your first angel round or your first Series A, you need to switch to a profit track immediately. And that was not something I was taught or learned or knew. And I think, Black founders almost have to focus on profit from day one, which ultimately limits the kind of business you can build. It gives you more freedom personally, but it means that you're not going to build a billion-dollar company in 5 to 10 years. It's probably going to take you 20. And if I had known that sooner, I would have functioned so differently. I would have raised my crowd fund, and I would have not raised an institutional round. I would have focused on profit from that moment on. And the thing is, I would have had to been going against the community, my peers, the other investors, who's telling you to grow. And I would have said, no. Let me just cut and focus on profit. But that was not the conversation at the time. And I think I didn't trust my own instincts. I'm listening to lots of cooks in the kitchen, and I think that my lesson was to trust myself more in that. And it doesn't matter that I'm young, you and your gut know what the right direction is for the business. And I think that was my biggest takeaway, my biggest lesson in this process.
It's interesting you say that because, listen, I've had multiple people come to me since we launched saying, oh, you need to go do a raise. You need to do a crowdfund. I've had 2 different crowdfunding companies approach me. And I remember having a conversation with somebody at the beginning of the year. And Mark Halperin had gotten $3 million or something like that from some Russian oligarch. I don't know what the hell he got. And this person said, man, y'all should, should be doing the same. But, folks like Roland, you trying to hold on to equity. This person said, I'm willing to invest $100,000. And I saw it. I started laughing because what the person hadn't even realized is in that particular month, our donations from our fan base was at $58,000. That was just on Cash App and Square. So it was just 2. It wasn't Venmo. It wasn't PayPal. It was just those 2. And the reason I thought that was hilarious because what the person didn't understand was Oh, sure. I could go out, give up 20% of the company. I can go raise $3-4 million. But the problem is, if there's not going to be an increase in advertising coming from brands, coming from ad agencies, all you're going to end up doing is doing a raise, bringing the money in, expanding your expenses, burning through the cash, not seeing the revenue increase to go along with that. And now you're chasing the valuation, and those investors want their money back. So you're going to have to end up going out to go raise more money to essentially pay them back. And all of a sudden now you're losing equity. And I said to this person, I would rather stay where I am and methodically build than be in a constant state of pressure, debt, raise. I said, then you're not focusing on the business. You're focusing on just out there constantly trying to raise money. And these are the conversations that I think, unfortunately, Kim, that people don't want to have when we talk about business, because a lot of people are sitting there and they're watching, they're looking at Instagram, and they're like, oh, they're thinking you're living the good life, not understanding that when you are an owner, when you're an entrepreneur, you're the one staying up. You're the one trying to figure out how do folk get paid. You're the one shifting money when it comes to this credit card to that credit card. This ain't Sheila E.'s song, The Glamorous Life.
Oh my gosh, Roland, you're absolutely right. So I have decided, so I learned that lesson, right? And I think thankfully I'm not too far gone that I can't recover. So I have a plan. I've decided it. I stopped raising after that crowdfund. I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm not raising another dollar. We're good. Okay. I have been in the marketing seat running as CMO, CEO for the last 18 months. And my marketing team is down to just 4 people max. And the 3 of us work on Chromix. So all the emails are going out, all the SMS, everything, all the graphics, me right now. That's how we're like saving money. It's because I'm probably working 3 or 4 jobs. And I want to get Chromix to a really comfortable position in profit, be able to pay my investors back their money, but retain the equity in the business. And I am saddling up for the long haul. I'm going to be doing this for the next 10 years, at least. And I'm okay with that. I love that. I love my customers. I love what I do and who I serve. And I'm going to slowly just buy back my equity. So I agree with you. That was a hard lesson, but I'm glad I learned it now and not in, 3 or 4 years.
So here we sit, and go to my iPad, Anthony. Folks, if you go to curlmix.com, you see Protect Curl Mix. You can buy products, but also if you want to just donate, if you don't want to buy products, you can click the donate button right here. You see they are asking for $50. You can change the amount right here, and there are multiple ways in which you can give. You see credit cards, Cash App, Affirm, Klarna, as well as with your bank. If I go back here, you see there's a running clock right here, and 36 days, 5 hours, and 25 minutes. And so, folks, they moved about 7,000. Again, the goal is to do 20,000. So we're talking 13,000. And so if you want, well, first of all, so let's see for folks who may not know, what products do you have? So I'm looking here, and so just share, what are your products?
Yeah, so we have a few different gels. We have about 3 flaxseed gels in here. So if you like a wash and go, this will be a great kit for you. We also have our anti-frizz leave-in in here, as well as our pineapple leave-in that's going to be really good for detangling your hair. We have our honey curl cream, so it'll be great for twist outs, as well as our styling foam. And then we also have our shampoo. And a grapeseed conditioner is going to be really great for slipping through your hair. So it's a really good styling bundle if you want to style your hair.
All right. So I see here wash and go shampoo. All right. So what products that you have? Okay. What can dudes use? I mean, let's just say now Larry, he ain't got no shot. So he ain't. Okay. No. You got anything Larry can use for his beard?
Absolutely. We have some body butter and lots of different growth serums on our website. Larry could just go and buy a one-off product. He doesn't have to buy the 10 for 10. Or he can buy it and gift it. It should be shipped out hopefully before Christmas because we're doing pre-orders. And maybe he'll be able to do stocking stuffers. But also he can just go directly to the site and purchase the body butter. That's what I actually have in my hair right now. I blow dried it just before our meeting.
All right. You can look at Mustafa's hair. You see how, put Mustafa up there. So what you got for Mustafa?
So we are switching up the bundle. So the bundle you see on the site is going to change on Black Friday. It's going to be a scalp bundle. So we're going to have a lot of liquid shampoos. I know if you have locks, you don't typically want butters and creams and things like that in your hair because it can get caught and it'll collect lint and stuff like that. So we have we have 2 or 3 liquid poos, one that's mint, one that's strawberry. We have a scalp treatment that's like an okra-based gel that's got like a minty feeling with witch hazel. It's going to help relieve dandruff and any itchy scalp that you might have. And then we have our fragrance-free serum that's going to be in that kit. And then we have our fragrance-free shampoo and conditioner as well. So if you have sensitive skin and you want something with fragrance-free, definitely check Chromex out.
All right. Tyler, take your hat off and see what the hell you working with. Let's see.
Look, I'm going to need someone that's not going to take the waves off underneath.
First of all, you ain't got no damn waves.
Look.
Stop it. Tyler, you ain't no waves up there. So, Kim, y'all got something that can give his ass some waves?
We got some pomade. We got some pomade on our site. Just search pomade. It's our maple pomade.
All right, then. So, folks, you have your marching orders. The site, curlmix.com, curlmix.com. You see all of their socials right here. Of course, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest. That's all of their products. So, again, Kim, keep us abreast of how y'all do hitting your goal.
Thank you so much, Roland. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, got to go to a break. I'm going to talk about this Washington Post story. And I'm explaining to you how black-owned media gets screwed out of the money with stories like this. Y'all want to listen to this. We'll be right back.
This week on the other side of change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism, and Trump's continued war on wisdom.
This is a coordinated backlash to progress. At the end of the day, conservatives realized that they couldn't win a debate on facts. They started using our language against us, right? Remember when we were all woke and the woke movement and all that kind of stuff? Now everything is anti-woke, right? When we were talking about including diversity, equity, inclusion, and higher education, now it's anti-DEI. All this are efforts to suppress the truth because truth empowers people.
You're watching The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the original T-Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Been frozen out.
Facing an extinction level event.
We don't fight this fight right now. You're not going to have black-owned media. All right, folks, on Monday, Jamal Simmons sent out an email regarding, it was a Substack column he wrote about a piece that was in the Washington Post. Now, after Jeff Bezos pulled the endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris from the Post, I canceled my subscription, so I didn't see this story. But this is the story right here. I want y'all to check it out. So the story says how Democrats are building their own digital media army. The 2024 election spurred Democrats to seek out podcasts and social media creators to spread their message and catch up with their Republican counterparts. Now, I sat there. Now, you see this graphic right here. And so you see they have the guys with Midas Touch, Brian Tyler Cohen. They got the 2 white women with a podcast in Oklahoma. And so, okay, so you go through this story, and it lays out in here what Donald Trump did. So then they go in here and they talked about how State Representative James Tallarico, how he's been focusing on a lot of new media figures. And they mentioned, again, Brian Tyler Cohen and how Mark Kelly kicked off his campaign on there. Then, of course, they talked about Jennifer Welch, the I've Had It podcast, her and her co-host Angie Pump Sullivan, 2 white women from Oklahoma. They've got 1.4 million YouTube followers. And so all of a sudden, you see right here. So look at this right here. So they got Midas Touch, 5.58 million. Jennifer Welch, 1.43. Aaron Parnas on TikTok, 4.6. Brian Tyler Cohen, YouTube, 4.91. Heather Cox Richardson, 2.7 million. So you're sitting here, you're like, man, okay. All look the same, huh? Okay, so then all of a sudden you go into this article here. And then you see them talking about PragerU, which I told people about, and all these other different groups, the Federalist Society, Daily Wire, all these right-wingers I've told you about. And so look at this here. They said the opportunity has proved so lucrative and the mainstream media environment so weakened that established figures such as Chuck Todd, Katie Couric, and former MSNBC hosts have reimagined themselves as independent media personalities. Interesting. They mentioned Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, and they mentioned Tara McGowan, founder of the Courier Newsroom, a conglomerate of liberal local news sites. And you go on and you're looking at this story and you're seeing more. And then again, they got all these different people. And look at this here. Before sitting with Chris Matthews, an MSNBC anchor turned Substacker, 14,000 subscribers, and Katie Fang, a former host with a YouTube channel, 436,000 subscribers, powered by the Democratic Midas Touch Network, 5.6 million YouTube subscribers. Mamo joked, this guy, let's see, I didn't see his name, Andrew Mamo. And so Mamo joked about all the funny back-to-back lineup of MSNBC refugees trying to build audiences on Substack. They go, Democratic operative Scott Dworkin, 236,000 Substack subscribers. And then they're sitting here just going on and on and on. And they're mentioning all of these different people. And you know, they've got this, that, and the other. And they've got, let's see, suspect Catherine Valentine, who oversees news and politics at the company. And then you keep reading this story and you're like, oh, look at it. Todd, a former host of NBC News' Meet the Press, who now runs an independent podcast, said candidates seek him out rather than the other way around. He suspects his established media credibility offers validation in donor circles, even as he insists his YouTube audience makes him just as mainstream as any cable network. Okay. And so it goes on and on and on, talking about ambitious Democrats and beat Pete Buttigieg appearing on this one particular show, and it goes on and on, and Kyle Tharp and all these other different people, and you just see, and you go on, you're reading it. And the article is done by Dylan Wells and Sarah Ellison. Y'all notice no black people. It's interesting, none. Now, I found it interesting is that Dylan Wells follows me on Twitter. Yep. I don't know Sarah Ellison, but Wells does. Okay. So, that's interesting. And so, then I remembered seeing this other article. And I just want you, I'm going to connect the dots here, y'all. April 2nd, the New York Times did a big piece on Chuck Todd. And the whole piece was on Chuck Todd wants you to meet the pods. Go to it. Here we go. So he's interviewing Fetterman, and come on, go to my page. You see this right here, and so you go up and you see this article is talking about after leaving the corporate home of Meet the Press, Mr. Todd is embarking on a career as a media entrepreneur. He has a podcast and a YouTube channel. He plans to hire other hosts for a podcast and video network focused on politics and culture. He also said he was working with an advisor from a major financial firm to build or acquire a company focused on community news. Let me see. The article was written by Benjamin Mullen. And it says, look at this here. That's right. Mr. Todd said he was adjusting to the realities of digital entrepreneurship and full-time podcasting. It's all this stuff. All this stuff. Oh, man, all this stuff. What Chuck Todd is doing, I mean, God, it's amazing. And again, I see all these stories in how Chuck Todd is being mentioned in all of these stories. And so, so the Washington Post and the big article in the New York Times, go to my iPad. Y'all see this here? Chuck Todd's got 49,000. Let me go ahead and just click this button right here. Chuck Todd has 49,000 500 YouTube subscribers. And since he's joined, he's done 5.3 million views. All right, it's respectable. What's missing? Isn't it interesting how you read these articles and they happen to don't mention any black people? I mean, I'll just give you an example. So, you know, Joanne Reed lost her show at MSNBC at the beginning of the year, and she eventually launched her own Substack and YouTube channel. And if you click this button right here, you will see that Joanne Reed has 359,000 YouTube subscribers. Okay. So, you know, you got that. And so, you know, Don Lemon, he got fired at CNN and, you know, took home a huge check. He's doing his own thing. And so, let's see here. Checking right here, looks like he's got 1 million YouTube subscribers. Okay. All right. So, there are other black people out there who are creators who are doing some great things as well. And so, I think about, you know, what we built here in 7 years at Roland Martin Unfiltered. If I would check right here, let's see right here. Oh, wow. 1.89 million subscribers. No mention in any of those articles. Benjamin Mullen hasn't called us to do a huge profile in the New York Times. So he writes a story on how Chuck Todd launched a podcast and a YouTube channel and plans on hiring others to do shows on a network. You mean like what I did? You mean like run the Greg Carr promo? You mean like this show?
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr.
Oh, you mean, run the other side of change.
This week on the other side of change.
Book bans, anti-intellectualism.
Oh, you mean run balanced living.
Are you ready for the holidays?
Oh, come on back. Give me the Rolling with Roland. Give me one. I don't care which one. Show me one. So that's 3 shows. That's 3 shows. Right now we are working on a business show. We're working on a new daily noon show. We're working on a health show. Now, mind you, those 3 shows, we had other shows. We had 3 previous shows with other guests on the network. So in the 4 years we've done it. It's amazing how none of that gets mentioned in the Washington Post and the New York Times. So some of you may be saying, well, Roland, I mean, what, are you upset you're not getting attention? No, because I don't think you quite understand what's going on here. See, with the New York Times and the Washington Post, when they do these stories, what ends up happening is the very same media buyers, listen to what I'm saying, the very same media buyers in politics, the same media buyers in the general market, they're reading the same outlets. So when they decide to say, hey, we should spend money on these networks, on these shows, I was reading the Washington Post, I was reading the New York Times. That's where we should spend our money. So when you see a story written by the Post and the New York Times and other white mainstream media that completely ignores black people and others, what then happens is we're frozen out of the money. And if you're frozen out of the advertising money, you can't grow your network. See, there was a whole bunch of people who were sitting here like, you took that money from Kamala Harris. Let me explain something to y'all. I knew when the Harris campaign paid us for advertising directly, it was going to show up on the FEC report. Do you know why that happened? Do you know why you don't know that BET got almost $10 million? Do you know why you don't know how much Essence got, how much NNPA got? Because they got paid through the advertising company. Well, I didn't trust their ad company because they kept screwing black people. So I said, y'all going to pay me direct. Oh, y'all didn't realize that, huh? Well, I thought so. And so what I'm trying to get you to understand is we are systematically frozen out of the money. And then when we're frozen out of the conversation, we're also frozen out of the money. Y'all, next year's a midterm election. Do y'all know that probably on the small side, $8 billion is going to be spent on these campaigns? How much you think black-owned media is going to get? It's going to be a massive election in North Carolina and Georgia. How much you think black radio stations, those small little black gospel stations, black newspapers, black digital outlets are going to get? Comcast's going to get paid. iHeart's going to get paid. Sinclair's going to get paid. Tegna's going to get paid. All these major media companies are going to get paid. Right now, all these Democratic operatives are lining up trying to figure out how they're going to place money on all these podcasts. Are they going to come here? Now, we already know Republicans. Oh, yeah, some of y'all are saying, what about the Republicans? What about the Republicans? Why you always talking about Democrats? Well, because Republicans ain't trying to spend money on black people. Oh, but actually they are, because you know what they do? The Republicans go to YouTube. That's why y'all know, y'all saw Republican commercials running on my YouTube channel before I went live. So what they did is they said, hey, YouTube, Google, we're going to do this big ad by, I want to buy ass time on all these black shows. See, y'all didn't realize how the game works. See, this is why I call these people out. This is why I call out the Washington Post and the New York Times, because they never include black people. And so when they're speaking to the wider audience, that's why we don't actually get the money. So when I'm talking about where's our money, and then a lot of y'all are sitting here saying, man, he always on the air begging. Well, guess what? If we got our fair share of advertising, I wouldn't have to ask for donations. We would easily be doing, the size that we are, we would easily be doing, $8 to $10 million a year. Easy. Easy. See, some of y'all are sitting here thinking I'm just, oh man, you just saying this. No, I'm arguing on behalf of black people. I'm arguing on behalf of us getting paid. I'm arguing on behalf of us not being frozen out of the money. And we are systematically frozen out of the advertising money, and it happens over and over and over and over again. And if y'all think I'm lying, I just pulled it up. This is the YouTube weekly top podcast for November 10th through the 16th. Joe Rogan, Midas Touch, okay, they progressive. Then let's see here. Sean Ryan, Kill Tony, Rot Mango, look, Tucker Carlson, Pat McAfee, Brian Tyler Cohen, he's progressive. Let's see, PDB podcast, right wing, Theo Vaughn, right wing. I've had it. They had 18, I got them. All right, cool. So you keep going. And, first time you get somebody black, Shannon Sharp and Ocho, Nightcap. Then you keep going. And let's see, who's the next? Look at Megyn Kelly at 31. Let's keep going. I'm looking for, we got the Bulwark, formerly Republicans. I'm still looking for some black people. Let's see here. 85. Hey, that's my man. That's DC Young Fly, all my guys, Chico Bean, all them. At 51, this right-winger, DeVory Dawkins at 52. Neil deGrasse Tyson, 54. Y'all notice you ain't seen no black-owned news. You ain't seen it. Oh, Joe Budden, he had 62. Entertainment, here we go. Look at this here. Who's at 69? Only black-owned media, only black-owned news show on here. Club Shay Shay at 72. All right, 5:20 in the morning. Jeff Teague, that's those guys. Jadakiss and Fat Joe, 75. Let me keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm trying to see anybody black on here. That's it, y'all. So you mean to tell me they did, Washington Post did this big old story on these progressive, whatever you want to call it, because I ain't never identified as Democrat or Republican. And the only black news show is right there. And the New York Times has never in 7 years called us about a story. The Wall Street Journal has never called us to say, how in the hell did you build it? How in the hell do you have a 5,800 square foot studio 2 blocks from the White House and all the things that y'all doing? Y'all, when we get ignored in these stories, that's how we also get ignored from the money. Let's go to my panel. Mustafa, you know how this game works. You've been in the environmental game. You understand the billions the environmental lobby spends on media. And you've been fighting those folks saying, y'all gonna cut black folks in?
Yeah, and when we take a look at the numbers, you know, you and I have talked about it before, it's probably about 1% of all those dollars that flow that actually make it to black and brown media and individuals who are trying to make sure that they are, you know, bringing the stories forward to our community in an authentic way. You know, I always tell folks, you got to just look at this stuff in a really real way. Erasure doesn't just happen on one side of the ledger, right? It's not just Republicans who do erasure. We also got erasure going on the Democratic side. And yeah, folks not going to like it. Yeah, I'll get phone calls later on. But the truth is the truth. And there's whitewashing also. We saw that with that article. When I saw that article come out, I was like, all the words that came in my head was alabaster and milky and uncolored and porcelain and snowy and a number of other things to describe what I was seeing in front of myself. And we see it in every particular area that we work in, that there still is this growth that has to happen. And unfortunately, nobody is coming to save us. And that's why I appreciate so many of the folks who are investing in the Black Star Network, that they're saying, you know what, we understand these dynamics. It's not right. And yes, it has to change, but we will also make sure that we are investing in the folks who invest in us. But we've got to speak out about this, Roland. It shouldn't just be you and a couple of other folks who actually continue to pull this stuff forward. Each and every one of us. I often say that we've got to stop funding our own oppression. And what I mean by that is, if these individuals, if these institutions are not going to make investments inside of our communities, then we have to take our dollars away from them until they change how they do business.
Larry, billions are going to be spent next year. And I'm telling you, listen, Larry, we are going to get screwed again. But they're going to want our votes. And what I keep saying is that's the equivalent of saying y'all are sharecroppers. Don't till that soil, but we're going to make that money from the sale of the product.
Yeah, and we're looking to be free, Roland, particularly the importance of the midterms. And listen, you've been doing this for a long time and having a well-established relationship in journalism, well earned. And I know we've talked about this on the show a few times. But, Democrats can't show up at black churches on Sundays, a few Sundays before election, expect black folks to show up. A lot of black people watch your show from all different backgrounds. I have family members, friends, etc. And so if you want to invest in the backbone of the Democratic Party, which is the black community, you have to invest in one of the few options you have when you know that black people are watching and getting the information they need. The Democrats cannot reverse what we've seen over the last couple of months if they don't invest in black media and black folks don't see what's happening, and we don't reverse some of the trends we saw in the last election, last November, in terms of the turnout in the black community. And so you're right. If this continues during a time we have a large number of black folks, we talk about the members of the CBC compared to other times 10, 15, 20 years ago, then we will once again, the Democratic Party is going to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And once again, you made the analogy talking about we're sharecroppers. But no, we're superstars. And we're voters, and we spend money. And if you want to win, then you have to invest in black communities and black media and invest in the Black Star Network.
See, Tyler, here's the deal. And I know. It's a whole bunch of white media strategists can't stand me. Oh, I know. My name come up. Oh, and I hear what they say. And you know why? Because they say, damn it, why is he demanding equity? And see, I tell them point blank, you gonna play me small? No, we're not having you on the show. No, we're not gonna broadcast your rally. No, we're not gonna run your ads. Because you're not gonna sit here and hit me with a black tax, but then you're gonna go spend $1.5 million, $2-3 million over there. No. I've told campaigns no. And they're like, did he just tell us no? Yes, because you can't play me cheap. And I'm not going to accept it. And the problem is, too many black people who willingly, and I get it, they willingly accept a crumb and they convince themselves that it's a tasty meal. No, it's a crumb.
And the erasure is intentional, because I believe when black media is underfunded, that means that black truth telling becomes easier to ignore. And if we do not own the platform, someone else is controlling our narrative. And I think that is exactly what they want to be had done. They want our narrative to be told by somebody else. But I think it's important for black media to tell our truths. And the black media has always been the pulse and truth tellers of this country. And so whether that's pushing culture or whether that's holding systems accountable, as we see what happens here on this show. And I think when major political institutions, whatever side, build strategy while excluding us, they fail the very communities that they say that they're trying to uplift. And I believe without black media, this digital narrative will always be incomplete. And our people deserve better. Our people deserve the truth to be told. And I think that is important for us to be at the table. And like I said, not accepting crumbs, but knowing that we deserve the whole damn meal and not just the piece of bread that's being passed around.
Man, I done told these folk point blank, you play me small, I ain't even getting out of bed for that small change. That's not about being arrogant. I'm telling you. And so this Washington Post story, that's also what happens when you fire all the black people. When you run all of them off. That you would have a whiteout in that kind of story. And I talked about it on Twitter, and I tagged the writers in it so they know exactly how I feel. But I'm telling all y'all who are watching, all y'all who keep complaining why we don't have this and we don't have that, I'm going to tell y'all right now, the reason you do not see more comprehensive coverage, the reason you do not see a black-owned media morning show and a midday show and an afternoon drive show, the reason you don't see it, because we do not get the dollars, period. We get screwed by these ad agencies, and I'm talking about Dentsu, WPP, Omnicom, Horizon, IPG. You can name all of them. Group M. Man, we've been dealing with them for 4 or 5 years, and all we've gotten is a damn runaround. So we get screwed out of political advertising money. We get screwed out of the general market money. And then we get screwed out of the federal government advertising money because the same damn agencies get the federal contracts and screw us in general market. Then y'all wonder why you don't have black news shows. Now y'all understand why. So when I call these folk out, y'all need to be commenting on Instagram, liking as well, so they can see hundreds of thousands. Because now if I post some bullshit, some little messy stuff, oh man, folks like that in a heartbeat. But this right here is why black-owned businesses get frozen out, because they act like we don't exist. They freeze us out of the stories. They freeze us out of the money. They freeze us out of the equity, out of the venture capital, and then we're left to wither on a vine. And I'm going to close out with this here. I'm telling y'all because I know it's true. There are some agencies and some brands that said, we're going to wait his ass out. They thought we would be out of business by now. They like, damn, 7 years later, his ass still standing. We thought by ignoring him, we were going to take him out. Well, first of all, our supporters stand us up with their dollars. 2, I know how to manage money. I may have hated algebra and geometry when I was in college and high school. Oh, but I can count. I know money. I know how to control expenses to make sure expenses are less than revenue. And that's how you stay in business. So I'm warning everybody right now. If y'all hear me calling some campaigns out in 2026, y'all know why. And I'm putting everybody on notice. If y'all think you're going to play Roland Martin Unfiltered, Black Star Network, and black-owned media small, you got another thing coming. And the last point, I don't believe only one person can eat. So when I go to the table, I ain't just fighting for me. I'm fighting for other folk as well to get a piece of this shit pie. Because again, a piece of a pie ain't the same as a damn crumb. We come back, our Shop Black Star Network business owner with some toys, focusing on STEM. Back in a moment.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey, yo, what's up? It's Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC, sitting here representing the JODECI, that's Jodeci, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, Black Friday is happening this Friday, and of course, a lot of people are going to be focused on shopping. Y'all know y'all are. Now, even though we were trying to tell y'all, don't go to Target, but we know what's going to be happening. Folks are going to be out there. And actually, with that the case, I want to remind y'all, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Thursday and Friday, y'all, we got a special for you. So we have our segment here. This is our Shop Black Star Network segment. So what we've done is we put together all of the segments, going to be including this one here. All of these segments we put together for a massive broadcast on Friday. And so we're going to air all of these. So if you look at all these products to my left, we're going to have all of these interviews that we've done with all of these owners. And so you're going to be able to hear their stories about their particular products. And the one we have today is a toy company. That's right. If you got kids who love science, math, and the arts, Terry Nichelle Bradley has created the Brown Toy Box, a child-centered, STEAM-inspired toy collection that celebrates learning. Her goal is to make STEAM-based educational experiences accessible to all children and their parents. Bradley joins us right now. All right, glad to have you here. So, all right, let me go on over here and let's see what we got right here. So, is this called the Didisi Crew? I can't hear you. There we go. Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Now I hear you.
Okay. It's Didisi. Didisi means curious in Swahili, and we say we're always trying to cultivate curiosity for our children.
Black folks love having Swahili names. I'm just messing with you.
And we love it.
All right. So, Didisi. Okay. So, right here. So on the back here, it says, meet the Didisi Crew. So are these all different characters?
Yeah, so we represent that line that you're looking at represents 14 different STEAM themes.
Alex and Ava, Amara, Dre, Everett, Haley, Jalen, Justin, Kenny, Michaela, my niece name Michaela, Maya, Oscar, Sebastian, my middle name, that's a great name, Sky, Willow, and Zoe.
Yes, Zoe. So they all represent different STEAM themes, various interests, because what we say is you never know what's going to cultivate or capture a kid's imagination, right? So we want to expose them to all those different themes that each of those characters represent.
So I was just talking about money, and so this here says investing in finance. We got some money in here, a market, a calculator, and a safe.
Yeah, so in that kit, that's the Kenny Finance and Investing Kit. So in that kit, they've got a chore chart. We want kids to really actually understand and respect money, right? So they need to understand how you earn money, how you save money, how you invest money, and how you share, right? And
right.
So That's being charitable, right? So really understanding money, but making it really, really fun, right? So that's the point for all of our STEAM kits, our puzzles, our games. It's really about making learning really accessible, representative, and fun.
All right, I got aviation.
Yes. Yeah, so that's Sky. So you'll notice with each of our kids, they come from a different part of the Black diaspora, right? So Sky she represents Brazil, and she represents aviation. And so they're building a tower in there. They've got little planes in there that they put together. So what we like to do is make sure everything is equal parts learning, equal parts fun. So in that kit, there's always like a DIY activity where they're putting something together.
All right, hold up. Using acronyms. What's DIY?
Oh, do it yourself.
There we go.
Self-activity.
Okay.
So they'll put something together, but then they actually get to play with it because we want it to be really valuable to the parents. There's a book in each of those STEAM kits with activities, but then they also get introduced to Black trailblazers in those specific STEAM themes. So we try to make it, again, a lot of learning and a lot of fun.
Museum arts is the next one. Tell me about this one.
So that is Michaela. So that kid is actually named after my daughter. And that one is really fun because the kids all get a canvas, they get frames, they get to curate their own art exhibit. So they can either do stickers or paint, and they can make their own, create their own canvases, and they have adhesives to the wall. And so it's so funny. One of the parents that bought that particular STEAM kit told me that not only did her daughter do all of the different canvases, but then she sold her pieces to her, so she made some money. So I was like, well, I love that because she's learning entrepreneurship. So I love that she created her own art, and then she let them come to her art exhibit, and she sold the pieces. So I love that stuff.
All right, we got astronomy here.
Yep, that's Dre. So Dre, what I love about the characters too is we were so intentional about not only the theme and where they come from. Dre is from Ocho Rios, Jamaica, right? But also what they look like. I wanted Black children to be able to walk into a store or go onto our site and see characters that look like them. So one of my favorite things is that parents will say, oh, I wish I had this when I was a kid, right? And that's really where this whole thing came from is, I was a little Black girl raised in St. Paul, Minnesota in the 70s, right? There wasn't a whole lot of representation, but my mother made sure that we had things that look like us. So if it was an Ebony magazine up on the wall or a Barbie that she colored brown, she made sure we could see ourselves. So Dre represents astronomy. So they put together a telescope. They've got a glow-in-the-dark constellations for their wall. It's just a really, really fun kit.
Questions from the panel. Tyler, you're first.
Yeah, I love how you talked about your childhood experience being the vision behind this right here. I'm just curious, when did you realize that this just wasn't a business idea, but really a cultural intervention for children to be able to really tap into the STEAM and also, the historical concepts behind this?
So the funny thing is it was the reverse, right? I didn't see it as a business venture at first. I really thought about, so at the time I was leaving corporate. My background is corpcom and corporate communications. And I hated my job. I hated all the things that were going on. I was like, at the same time, I kept reading and like TechCrunch and Mashable about this leaky pipeline to STEM. And I always knew it was not an intelligence issue. It wasn't a capability issue. It was an access issue, right? It was an exposure issue. And so I was at a point in my career, I was really trying to find purpose. And I wanted to do something like when my mom used to color my Barbies brown, I thought she was crazy, right? When I was a little kid. But when I had children myself, I remember going on those quests to different stores looking for, ornaments with my children's names or brown things, and I could never find it. So for me, it was a little bit of the reverse. It was like, how can I create something, one, that exposes children to STEAM in a way that's really, really fun, and that also makes STEAM accessible to the parents, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, accessible to the parents as well. And so I really started it less as a business, but more as a altruistic kind of mission. I thought I was starting it as a business, but what I realized was I didn't have a lot of business acumen when I first started, but I got that together.
Larry.
Yeah, I noticed the packaging looks really great. And so my question is, the cost as it relates to packaging and getting that product out.
Yeah, so when I first started Brown Toy Box, we started as a subscription box. We started with my children and I at my dining room table, right? And it looked very different. So it was in 2021 when we got our first retail deal that we were like, I had reached out to a toy designer and he's like, I want to help you. I'm aligned with what you're doing. And designed a lot of, between two different toy designers, designed a lot of the stuff. We imported everything from China. I'd never done any of this before. I was not a business person. I was not a toy maker. But I was a mom, right? And I knew what I wanted to have for my children and what I wanted to have for other children, right? And I just thought, when you take a walk down a toy aisle, and you never see any children that look like they're sending a message, right? And so I wanted to send a different kind of message, like you matter, you are represented. I didn't want to do a doll company. I wanted to do educational play, right? I think there's a lot of Black dolls out there, and there's a need for that. But there's also a need to kind of disrupt this educational toy aisle, and that's what I set out to do.
Mustafa.
Well, thank you for this. I'm big in science and the arts. I'm curious. So when you create this, have you heard from educators or others about how this has been helpful for the young people who are learning and growing?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started Brown Toy Box, we did a lot of high-touch testing in elementary schools, right? I wanted to make sure that we were on the right track. So we would take our products. So it was really focus grouping in schools, right? But one of our big customer bases are schools or corporate partners who buy for schools that are in their communities, those kind of things. So we work a lot with schools. We go into schools ourselves. And, for us, we're going to bring all the kids always get a STEM kit or one of our giant puzzles or one of our games, but we also take in programming. So we'll go in and if the theme happens to be marine biology, we'll connect with the Black marine biologist, take them into a school so kids can see someone that looks like them, that shares a path that's not too dissimilar from them, right? And then we do a game around that. And then ultimately, then at the end, they get to take something home with them, right? So we do that. We do big festivals. We did, last year, we activated our first STEAM Bowl alongside the Super Bowl, right? So we went into a local school in New Orleans and we activated a big STEAM Bowl. We really want to bring STEAM to life through play. And there's so many ways that we really are doing that. And so, we do live entertainment with our characters. It's just really, really important that the kids get to actually see these characters in front of them and be able to touch and play and then take it home and engage with their parents. So we're all about tactile play, right? We have some of our products that are online and those kind of things, but we're really trying to get kids to disconnect a little bit and get on the floor, interact with their loving adult, whether that's their parent, their grandparent, a friend, whatever, and really, play and touch and do all those things.
All right, folks, if you want more on these toys, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can check them out. You can get them there as well. And so, again, Brown Toy Box. Terry Nichelle Bradley is the creator. You can see all of them right there. So if you're looking for Christmas gifts, you're looking to buy Black Friday, y'all just go buy Black by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Terry Nichelle, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Let me thank Mustafa Tylik as well as Larry for being on today's show. Y'all have a fantastic Food, Family, and Friends Day. Thanksgiving, we call it that as well. So y'all enjoy that. I'm going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we got some in memoriams to tell you about before we take it away. All right, back in a moment.
Are you ready for the holidays? This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking about all things anxiety and the holidays, whether it's performance anxiety, presence versus presence, making certain that everybody in your space understands the boundaries and how to respect your home. This week, we're talking about those things that will allow you to have a peaceful holiday season.
It really is not about perfection. It's really about the house feeling warm and cozy and peaceful.
You don't have to like everybody, but what you can do is be cordial in those environments.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC, sitting here representing the JODECI, that's Jodeci, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The Mississippi Delta barn where Emmett Till was brutally tortured and killed in 1955 will become a sacred space open to everyone. The Emmett Till Interpretive Center has officially purchased the barn thanks to a $1.5 million donation from TV producer Shonda Rhimes. For decades, this barn was kept out of public view, buried by the very people who wanted the truth erased. We all heard the story of how Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till Mobley, made the courageous decision to hold an open casket funeral so the world could see what happened to her child. Those photos shook the nation and helped ignite the civil rights movement. And so this interpretive center, again, will be known as a sacred space. And so we'll have more details when it becomes available. Folks, legendary reggae icon and actor Jimmy Cliff has died at the age of 81. His wife said he suffered a seizure followed by pneumonia. Cliff's first major hit in Jamaica, Hurricane Hattie, referenced the devastating 1961 storm before he went on to perform at the New York World's Fair. Later became an international star with classics like Wonderful World, Beautiful People, and the powerful protest anthem, Vietnam. Also passing away this week is the former chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin, known to many as H. Rap Brown before converting to Islam, died at the age of 82. Al-Amin was one of the most influential pro-black leaders of the 1960s and 70s, a force within the civil rights and black liberation movements. He became known for challenging white supremacy and openly advocating armed resistance as a means of self-defense. He was known for his fiery rhetoric, once declaring violence is necessary. Violence is a part of America's culture. It is America as cherry pie. He passed away in a prison hospital after he was convicted in Georgia. And, of course, that was years ago when I worked at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, but I had an opportunity to actually interview H. Rap Brown, of course, later changed his name to Al-Amin. And so certainly condolences go out to the family of him as well as Jimmy Cliff. All right, folks, that is it for us. Let me do this real quick here, y'all. So let's see here. Tabia Kirkland, founder of Kidney Watch Foundation, actually just sent me this here. Got this in the mail, these T-shirts right here. Walk for a Better Tomorrow. She said had a family member who bought one of these shirts at their wellness walk. So she went ahead and sent this to me. Let's see here. Shout out to the guys at Fairway Golf Group. They came by and dropped off this golf hat to me right here. And let's say they dropped off a couple of shirts. Let me show you this here. So this is one of the shirts they dropped off right here. Pretty cool. That's a real nice fabric right there. This one right here is also nice. Close to black and gold. Close to it. Now, this is a nice fabric. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in the Texas heat, this sucker's going to be rough. But this will work in cooler weather. They also left a fairway bag, and then they also their golf towel right here as well. Let me shout out. Let's see here. Who is this here? This is. All right, so they sent a whole bunch of stuff in here. I don't know what we got. We got cards in here. I'm trying to figure out who this is from. Ava's Crafty Creations. So Ava sent me this stuff here. So y'all, Ava sent me a water bottle that got Scorpio on it. Smart, black and gold. She also sent me this one here, water bottle with my picture on it, and also White Fear is on here as well. Where is it? Y'all can see it right there. So that's pretty cool. And let's see here. She sent me some shirts. This is pretty funny right here. This one says, Roland Martin Unfiltered, speak up now. You can't be black-owned media. I'm going to have to help y'all out. So you said you can't be black-owned media. It needs to be owned and be scared. But you're absolutely right. You can't be black-owned media and be scared. So and then also appreciate this Roland Scorpio shirt. Pretty cool. Thank you so very much. I got this in. See, who sent this to me? Is there a name on here? Dion Campbell. Dion, thanks. Dion sent me this shirt right here. I'm rooting for every HBCU. All right, Dion, that's pretty cool. Okay, so this came in the mail yesterday. This is Cassandra Miller from Buggy's Boutique. She sent me her alma mater is Kentucky State, 1886. And so she sent me this. And she said, we are the small HBCU on the hill. Please wear this sweater with extreme pride forward me a photo with wearing it. So this is the sweater she sent right here. So I appreciate it. It looks great. Cassandra, here's the problem. I only wear HBCU gear on the show of an HBCU I've been to. I've spoken at or broadcast from. So Kentucky State, y'all need to invite me to your campus for me to rock the gear. So again, I appreciate it. It looks great. That's a Norfolk colors as well, plus Wilberforce. So I appreciate that. So yeah, Cassandra, tell Kentucky State, invite a brother, and then I'll definitely rock the gear. But I appreciate that. I'm gonna add that to my other HBCU stuff. Oh, the shirt I'm wearing right here. Hold on one second. Christy Riggs, she made this for me. Christy Riggs made this for me and sent it to me. And so she wanted me to wear a Howard University shirt, but she knew it's probably got a better chance of me wearing black and gold. And so I was playing the golf tournament at Howard's homecoming, and she had to deliver it to the Langston Golf Course. So, Christy, I appreciate you making this black and gold Howard sweater for me. Folks, that is it for us. We're going to have a best of show tomorrow. Y'all are going to enjoy this. The best roast on the show. Oh, my God. I'm talking about, y'all know I lit some folks up on this show. Lord, I lit them up. So, you know, Philip from Indianapolis? Yeah, he made the cut. Remember that crazy-ass Mark, Black Lives Matter from Rhode Island and where he's from? Yeah, he made the cut. So we putting that show together. Y'all going to enjoy it. Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which day we're going to run it. So Black Friday is, of course, people are going to be shopping. Some people should be staying at home. We want y'all to buy black. Okay, so what we've done is all these black-owned companies you see right here, the toys and all to my left here, all of these people on Shop Black Star Network, all these black-owned businesses, we're going to have a 5-hour show. We put all these shows together so you can be able to buy on shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can see the shows as well. We're going to be streaming it all throughout the day. So y'all check it out. Black Friday, Buy Black. We're going to be featuring Shop Black Star Network businesses on this special. You don't want to miss it. So it's going to be pretty cool. All y'all people on YouTube, y'all should be hitting the like button. So I'm traveling to Texas, looking forward to seeing my family. Y'all enjoy your friends and family. Have an absolute great one. Texas A&M plays Texas on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to spank that ass. Just letting you know, Matt Manning. So looking forward to that. And so, again, folks, I appreciate it. Again, I'm so thankful for our audience, people who watch this show, who support this show. We are consistently in YouTube's top 100 shows. And so that's because of this audience. And so, man, folk do an amazing job. So, hey, we want y'all to keep supporting what we do. If you want to help us get to our $1 million goal, I told y'all, these advertisers, folks, but they ain't spending the money they should be spending. And we are planning to launch a daily noon news show in January. We're working on launching a weekly health show, a weekly business show. That takes money. You got staff, you got personnel, you got hosts, all that good stuff. So if you want to support the work that we do, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. As for credit cards as well, PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check some money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get it online. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Also, you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. It's all there. Again, support our black-owned products at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And, of course, download the app Fanbase. If you want to invest, simply go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Monday, I will see you live from Atlanta, Global Hope Forum. We're there Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I will be in New York for the Route 100. I was voted on the list this year. And then Thursday and Friday, we broadcast live from Montgomery, Alabama for the 7th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott. So a lot going on next week. Folks, y'all have a fabulous, fabulous holiday. Be safe. Have lots of fun. Dance. Enjoy yourself. Keep it real. Keep it black. And keep it unfiltered. I'll see y'all on Monday. Holla!